This week on Hermitcraft.
Do you like to sacrifice yourself?
No, but thank you for the offer.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft RECAP. My name is PixelRiffs, our writer is LoyXP, and welcome to week 2 on the Hermitcraft server. If it's your first time watching a full season of Hermitcraft, this is where the season really gets going. Week 1 is just for the small stuff, like defeating the Ender Dragon, getting a beacon, glitching 8 spawners into one chunk of terrain, and building, starter houses. Week 2 is where the resource farms start to pay out, the shops are established, the pranks escalate, and the humble starter houses turn out to be the front porch for a base of epic proportions, or a lunchbox for an angry tree beast. And if it wasn't clear by now, a few hermits have mentioned that this season will not feature a community shopping district area. If you want to buy or barter resources from the other hermits, you'll have to do that directly from their base, or as the case might be, from roadside kiosks and potato vending machines. So with our horses hitched at the local truck stop, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Vintage Beef, who made his Season 8 debut right after the cutoff for last week's recap. His first episode is a classic 100 Days style video, in which his goal is not to die. So naturally, the 1 hour epic finds him joining Etho for a raid, domesticating a cave spider spawner, leaping heroically into lava while mining for quartz, and building a base that's already 2/3 of the way towards being a mob farm. Said base is in a mountain biome with alien spacecraft aspirations inspired by the addition of Deep Slate to the build palette. Hopefully it's better constructed than the first End City ship Beef finds, which is generated without the front section, so unfortunately without the elytra as well.
Hold on a second. Is this why half of it was missing because it just got eliminated? There's nothing on here. Oh no!
But with the base established and his 100 days on the server in the bag, Beef connects to the Nether and goes exploring to find his fellow hermits. He won't have to go too far to find XB Crafted, who relocates his own portal to the Nether ceiling, the better to invite people over to his base to shop for glow ink, responsibly farmed from a doubled up version of his axolotl-powered fish tank. Having bought a handful of mending books from Grian's Trian, he fights a wither for a last-minute double KO, and builds a moss farm in his basement, just in time for his neighbour Hypnotized to knock on his door asking for a cup of moss.
Oh, look at it go. It's so simple, right?
Hypno agrees to sponsor XB's farm with a steady supply of bone meal from a convenient skelly spawner, and they decide to go into the business of selling Azalea to the public. Of course, Hypno will need any edge he can to get onto the market, since the Deep Slate enchanting room, pretty as it may be, is not going to provide him with any mending books. Fishing and villagers yield about the same result, unfortunately.
But we're not really set up to do a whole bunch of the villager zombification and curing things to get that cheaper right now.
So while his server mates are growing moss, Cubfan135 is out there producing slime. Having redecorated his hole in the ground, Cub burrows into a much bigger one to try and capitalize on the double slime chunk he discovered last week. With the area cleaned up and repurposed, he's en route to acquire plenty of piston-adjacent material. But even if the original goal of the project was to provide slime blocks for a larger dripstone enterprise, the next thing we catch him doing in other people's videos is making a slime ball gambling apparatus down the middle of the Nether hub.
He's done with the happiness. Oh, no, he's not!
Oh, one more!
What? Oh,
there we go, now
Chris,
he's done.
You're about to die.
As for the grounds more casually used for slime farming, False Symmetry has a plan to use them for more decorative goals. The area from her to Stress Monster's place is to be occupied by a joint art project, which, knowing the ladies, will not leave a block unturned, barring perhaps only Ijevin's bunker, which in the marshland will require quite some fertilizer, and so False helps revamp the local skeleton spawner and departs to grab an elytra so she can get aerial views more easily.
It's in there. It's dark in there. Very dark in there. I will have to make that look pretty in there. It's not looking good. But I have a bigger plan for this.
Ambitious Wells Knight gouges the Earth's core to conceal a whole mob farm in it. The flush-powered monster grinder is hidden just below the surface and proves incredibly efficient for an area without a perimeter attached. Wells makes sure to set up a storage system to sort out the drops, and is well on his way to having more mob bits than you can shake a stick at. Though a much more satisfying flush comes with the community project he provides for his friends, an Enderman farm with a delightful dunking action. You just got to imagine them screaming as they disappear into the void.
You can turn the farm off, turn it on, whatever. There's nowhere here for the Endermen to teleport because there aren't any valid spots.
The efficiency is monstrous.
A much different gimmick comes with Tango Tech's own Tango Take on a mob farm, where instead of just letting the chips fall where they may, the system sorts out all the zombies that spawn and funnels them into a head-tall water stream, where they are pelted into aggression by a snowman firing squad.
The only thing left to do is turn this thing on, which terrifies me.
As a result, the contraption rapidly fills in with reinforcement zombies that too are quickly converted to drowned, for one reason only, dropping precious copper at a rate much faster than you get not AFKing for copper.
Holy cow. How many mobs do I have right there? Just, 240. Oh, this might not be good. This might not. What have I done?
However, Tango has prepared a fate much worse than double death for his server mates, having figured out a trick to trap a person in a 2x1 bedrock prison via a forced 1-block tall crawling. So if your fave makes a video of just sitting in a hole for a week, you know who's to blame.
Oh, well, this is my life now, I guess. This is where I live. So I might actually... Oh, I'm a genius. This is a win. I will never clear my inventory of rubbish again.
Azuma Void tries a different approach to copper farming. His drowned farm draws from a double zombie spawner he was lucky enough to find. Though the drop rates have some space for improvement, this farm will bypass the mob cap and keep producing even with Tango out there AFKing at his one.
Oh, did I just see our first copper ingot as well? I think the next one keeps picking up. Yes, there we go. We got copper ingots. The clicker don't even keep up with these zombies. We really need that sweeping edge.
Plus, the whole time, Azuma will be enjoying drops from his freshly installed iron farm, a melon and pumpkin farm, and a powdered snow farm, which may or may not just be ZF with a bucket. In need of some of this copper, but perhaps unaware of the waxing that will follow, Joe Hills boards the Lambo to trade Amethyst to Good Times with Scar.
Yeah, the thing about maintenance is you need to remember to do it, and remembering to do things in Mumbo isn't exactly the strongest correlation there.
Gleefully adding a waxed exposed cut copper staircase to the mine shared by himself and Zombie Cleo, mostly because there's a song attached.
Waxed exposed cut copper stairs, waxed exposed cut copper stairs, waxed exposed cut copper stairs.
Joe continues mining and finds a bunch more geodes along with some mineshaft chest glowberries. Cleo approves of the block choice and the song choice, and Joe starts rigging up a cave spider spawner to provide them with XP, string, and the opportunity to be poisoned whenever they feel like it. After being ideologically opposed to diamonds for the entirety of Season 7, it's strange to see Joe freely mining them and enchanting stuff at the Ender, then etching one with a month-long Flower Forest access pass for Corrales. Having ensquared the patch of ocean where he intended to restart his tower, Tinfoil Chef starts this week by moving it a couple of chunks away because it overlapped one of Grian's projects for the season. With that literally out of the way, he establishes his now traditional branch mine starting at Y11 in a patch of deep slate. He plans to investigate ore distribution coordinates more definitively in future, but for now he'll settle for putting on a masterclass in mining and gearing up with his first diamonds.
And yes, I know there's folks out there with iron farms and all kinds of other crazy stuff, and that's like, wow, crazy.
Never one to do anything by halves, Impulse SV digs out an entire double slime chunk because he needed 12 slime balls, although it's safe to assume he'll find something to do with the rest of it. Said slime chunks turn out to be right next to the bottom hole, where he needs to destroy some bedrock so people and possessions can be sacrificed to the void. So he whips up a hostile mob farm with the aim of getting enough gunpowder for TNT, and is soon up to his old bedrock breaking tricks again.
Well, you would think I would have learned my lesson last season when I did the big crater in the bedrock ceiling of the Nether for Iskal. Yeah, this is a really tedious process.
This soon proves to be his literal downfall, as he and Pearlescent Moon decide that Timmy the Wonder Pig has provided enough resources that they can't bear to wait any longer.
Yeah, I'm going to Green's. I'm going to Green's place. What?
Is that Green's? That is not Green's place! Impulse!
Oh no! Oh no, the void! The void!
Splitting the calcite and other goodies between them, they liberate Timmy from his amethyst tent, and Impulse rides him directly into the bottom hole. Luckily for Impulse, he's been to the end raiding for elytra and has his wits about him for long enough to escape. In fact, he returns to the end after applying the mandatory enchantments to his elytra, and soon enough he's gathered enough spare sets to open Eyesore, a shop made of everyone's least favourite blocks, but selling everyone's favourite Firecracker Wings combo platter. While the rest of the server is snapping up all the elytra, Iscal85 is determined to traverse the shattered savannah in the most stylish way possible, and camps in an ocean ruin, aiming to get hold of a trident from Minecraft's answer to The Little Mermaid. Finally getting the fork after 33 in-game days of trying, he enchants it with Riptide and sets up water pools on the plateaus he and Etho have occupied, the better to yeet himself between them. While flinging himself into the walls, he sets up some cliffside houses with a purpose-built landing platform, connecting them to the villagers' temporary accommodation with a bridge, and dangling one off the side in a bucket for good measure.
How? No! No, that's...
Etho's trident farming efforts are less successful, but he solves the problem of their base's sheer height difference by setting up an Ender Pearl teleporter to warp him straight to the top. It takes all the redstone in his possession to do it, but at least he doesn't have to worry about fall damage.
It's really fun, actually. Like, every time I log on, something around the base seems to change. Like, I'm living in a dynamic base this season, which is way more entertaining for me.
Now the local skeleton spawner has given them bone meal for days, he sets up some small-scale auto farms for crops and bamboo. But it wouldn't be Etho without some kind of pseudo-sentient redstone creation running the show, so he rigs up a copper block display capable of randomized facial expressions and surrounds it with indicator lamps displaying how much bone meal they currently have in stock.
That's like a Mumbo face. He's got a mustache. Wait a second. That was a good one. I like that one.
Though it would be hard to beat Gemini Tay in making an interactive shopping experience, seeing how her entire drip leaf store is a parkour course leading up to a chest of the stuff.
In general, this parkour is not too challenging to get across. The two most challenging spots are this one right here.
Because I could have got away with cheaper deal here, couldn't I?
Maybe.
Through the wonders of bone meal, Gem quickly gets farming every new type of plant, and she'll need it if she wants to keep video editing custom trees into existence. Speaking of which, the azalea parts will be sold out of a giant tree stump to any passerby who hasn't received a care package spore blossom from her personally. But as her ambitions grow, so does the list of adjectives on her front porch, so much so it blocks out the sun by the time they reach Corrales.
It's such a mild prank, but I do like it.
Just like before, Corrales embraces the villager side of Minecraft progression, aiming to provide enchanted books and other commodities to the immediate neighborhood. He even fits a villager breeder into one of the rooms of his mansion, though it sure doesn't help the sorting process that half of his ceilings and furniture is made of villager workstations.
Oh, by the way, you want to see my baby making room? That kind of came out wrong, but up here.
Yeah, that.
Moving inventory into a crescent-shaped house is a challenge for BOO, especially when he's being bullied into giving his clocks away to Pearlescent Moon and Corrales. To add injury to insult, he follows a trail of candles to Tango's spider farm, only to have the splashy rug pulled from under him at the last minute. But at least that means access to candles, which he uses to decorate his new bedroom and enchanting area, along with some posters for old time's sake.
Custom data model, set, 1. Aha. Oh, it worked! Oh, no way!
While other folks on the server are already gliding through the skies, B-Dubs decides riding a horse will keep him grounded in the world of the server. So he creates horse-friendly roads all across the continent, and together with the rest of Team Big Eyes, he plans rest stops all along the new paths, which can provide food, shelter, and potentially a chance to refuel your elytra.
It's gonna be a car wash where you can repair your stuff.
Yes.
With bottles, balls, enchantment, blah blah blah. Just
yes.
We're gonna have rockets. There's gonna be food. We're gonna have beat-ups. What else was there?
It's just a shame he couldn't take a horse into Gemini Tay's parkour course. It might have helped him with some of the jumps. Perhaps ironically, Pearlescent Moon has the best take on B-Dubs' base.
That somebody told that beat-ups is mooning me at all times.
I just got outed, have I? I made that joke. I'm going to be proud of it, all right?
If the Grian cookie hanging from her house wasn't enough of a clue for you, Pearl is quickly acquiring a reputation for shenanigans. Having signed various things with Gemini Tay, gone axolotl catching, and successfully stolen a clock from BOO to decorate Corrales' office, Pearl continues to flip the server on its head by claiming all the mobs on the server in the name of Australia. It only takes 500 or so name tags to turn everyone's cow farms, llamas, horses, parrots, bees, and goats upside down. Luckily, the tree golem she helps Grian build technically doesn't count as a mob, although it wouldn't be the first giant build she's rotated this week.
Teresa.
Teresa?
Does that work?
Teresa.
Potato Boy was not the hero the server needed, And that's it really. But despite Mumbo's home-cooked spuds being duds, he still works on aesthetic improvements to the potato farm room, including one wall that just feels like a Windows screensaver.
This is like a never-ending flow of potatoes. This is a very carb-based lava lamp.
Mumbo is one of the privileged few who get to try on Scar's new, bigger and more hatty hat, but he doesn't run off with it because he recruits Scar for the continuing saga of the Tree War. Having taken down Grian's giant tree tower from the roof of his tiny house, Mumbo wants to build Grian a tree he can't refuse, but ruining the view of Grian's house, so he's forced to take it down.
So does this mean, what does this mean? So you've blown
You'll
up...
find out what this means. You'll find out.
Grian discovers and remorsefully takes down the Scar tree in front of his house. But luckily for him, there's another organic builder on the server now, and so while Mumbo's away farming obsidian so he can put an enormous ghast farm on the nether roof, Grian recruits Pearlescent Moon to help him put a plant in the enemy's camp, van. The size of it, of course, makes this less espionage and more ecological vandalism. Weirdly enough, Mumbo is delighted, having to acknowledge that the tree monster actually looks pretty cool and he can still sort of get into his camper van. In fact, the space inside the monster's head is large enough that he can set up a house inside there, which we think technically makes it a Gundam now. But with nothing to replant, the conflict reaches a stalemate, and Mumbo creates a vault where a peace treaty will be signed. And yes, that's treaty, spelled exactly the way you think it is, a pun so potent that we daren't one-up it in case this just becomes the Hermitcraft RECAP. For Rendog and DocM77, barbecue chicken is back on the menu, mostly because Ren's attempts to sort out the chicken farm have turned it into a sort of chicken volcano, where the eggs emerge from the top on fire. This has no discernible effect on the baby chickens, although considering the rest of Team Rendoc's shenanigans, don't be surprised if one of them hatches into a phoenix.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, there we go. We need to get them in single file. Rip.
While Ren tweaks the farm to simply guide the chickens to a fiery end, they hatch a plan to taunt the Boatenpole town with a Goatem pole, twice as tall, twice as boaty, and much more goaty. The locals aren't as impressed as they hoped, but they might just be kidding themselves.
It's approximately double the height of the Boatenpole, Grian, so what do you think about that? Huh? What do you think?
I think the goats do nothing.
Well, they make a lot of noise.
The Goatem domination doesn't last, however, and soon enough Scar and Grian lower the whole thing back into the ground, so it's not as tall as their one.
It's comically low now.
There's no hiding it, really, is there?
Meanwhile, back at the Cursed Chunk, Doc is putting together a loose theory of how the 8-spawner chunk actually came to be, and he jumps into looting and lighting all of the dungeons. This nets him and Rendog a bunch of loot, including some music discs, which might be worth listening to again if you're going down the Hermitcraft rabbit hole.
Super useful, but, you know, better than nothing. So all good news, bad news, once I got shot by a skeleton and then died.
As for the metagames the hermits themselves will be playing, Grian has an excellent one. The dragon egg from before turns out to be the focus of the next iteration of Tag, Teg. This time around, players are expected to keep stealing, burglaring the dragon egg from one another, and keep it in their builds with one side exposed somehow until someone else finds and claims it. Grian promises to personally keep track and arbiter the minigame, to which we say good luck, have fun. The intro song is Clear Day by Ben Sound. And in the spirit of compiling stuff, enjoy this YouTube poop of people reacting to Scar's big hat.
What the? Oh my... Scar, give me the hat. Oh my god. Hi.
So like, if you... to see you, buddy. Am I the second person to have done that?
Yes.
Of course I am. Biggest thing I've ever held.
Oh, it was magic.
Magic. Oh my gosh.
It's so big.
You're the third person now. Let's take it off with it. Third person. This is so big.
How did you get
Oh,
a
there
big
it goes.
hat from a tiny hat? What happens?
Would you like to try it on?
It doesn't even fit in my hotbar slot.
No, it doesn't. That's the best.
With a sizable hat to fill, it's big brain time at Good Times with Scar. The tycoon plans on spreading his commerce across the server in a network of travelling shopping carts, arranged thematically and selling all sorts of material. For now, though, these are residing in a dedicated parking lot at the Boatem Village. And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP and my name is Pixelriffs. In this week's End Screen Theatre, my latest episode from the Empire's SMP server features me setting up a monument to how many times my server mates have died, which promises to be quite a lot, so check it out if you've got a second. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.